the way society has always lived. There is a way society has been and is being kept going. 2 is equal to 1, but 1 is not equal to 2. 1 is greater than 2, and 2 is less than 1. These are two of some of the mysterious mathematical statements. They may be unknown to the public, but it does not make them any strange. I encourage you to be patient, as some of the things you will hear might be amazing, but vanity or virtual knowledge is made known to us. Let us learn together.
Come to the first part of my new series of teachings. And the first part will mainly be an introduction of the virtual world. In our next series, I urge you to be a little carefully as we follow up on one another. And most interestingly, I would want you to also answer back, respond, criticize, and if possible, become part of us by subscribing to our YouTube channel so that we can follow up on one another, because your advice to us is our strength. Your comments, your criticisms are highly welcome. So I'll be glad to hear from you on also our addresses, as you'll see them down on the line. So please subscribe and join us as we share in the new world. The new world looks like something that we are mentioning, and indeed is new, as the word may want to suggest. But new is not new. The virtual world is not a new thing, although the word virtual seems to be new in most people's ears today. To those of us who are keen and have been following on some new issues, right from the beginning to what now we are calling new, we have got good news, and we want to begin sharing with you what we have come to learn, what we have come to discover, and what we have also been taught with the times as they have been going. But as I make my introduction, I'll begin in a little bit of a poetic manner, and I want you to listen carefully to my poem. It's not a real poem as such, but it's poetic a little bit. It says, "Virtual world, oh virtual world, you seemingly are new, yet from time immemorial you have always been. You sound so modern or virtual, and so technological sometimes when they mention about you. But it's the old same game. Deception and camouflage, in quotes. Always scientific, as you have always been. Many are the facts that surround you, O virtual, and many are the contradictions that make up your content. To the unsuspecting, you leave them disillusioned and confused. But to the wise, you reveal your nudity. On the other side, O virtual, as virtue may be, is never real. Virtue is not true. Virtue is seemingly. But since virtue is there, one emphasis must be clear, that the true is there also. This I want you to bear in mind. As we go deep into our study this morning, look at my words of introduction very carefully, and let's answer some questions together. First one, what is the meaning, or how would you define virtue? Virtue, according to the Oxford language, they define virtue as something that is almost like, something that is like, but actually not in the true context or original. I want you to notice very well, virtue has now, in the latest terms, been also being introduced in the scientific language. And in the scientific language, to them, they define it as something that has been, by virtue of science, made to be like it is. I want us to look at that nicely. It has just been made by science to just look like it is. So if it just looks like it is, clarity, it is not. But it looks like it is. That's first question and a bit of the definition. Second question, before we even go deep, how or where do we find these virtuous things? When you look at the term virtue, if it is something that is seemingly like, reality will prove to you that most of the things, more than 95% and more of the things we have today are all seemingly like. So if they are all seemingly like as by the definition, then the true must also always be there. So in whatever thing that you find the term virtue, it should always be able to click in your mind that but the original, the real one, the true one definitely exists. Today in modern science, we talk about the virtual world. So if we have a virtual world, then there is a true world, definitely. Because the virtual world is just seemingly like. How about in our own lives today? I'll give the very example of us as people. How many times are we ourselves virtual and we are not being true? You sometimes may put up a face. You sometimes may put on an impression. You sometimes may put on expressions to give a picture of a you, in quotes, yet inside of you, the real one also exists. So you put on this face which you want us to take as the you, but the real one, besides the one you have put on for us, is there. So could it also be true that men are virtual in their contexts? If sometimes things are seemingly like, and you two are sometimes looking like you are seemingly like, yet the true you has been hidden away, then I think it may also be true to say a man can be virtual. How about marriages? How many people are seemingly in a marriage, and yet they are not? Could it be true for us to say virtual marriage? Could it be true for us to say virtual relationships? I think it would be correct, because if we have virtual friends on our science, on the webs, we have virtual friends on Twitters, we have virtual friends on Facebook, we have virtual friends on many of the social media. You have never met, you don't know anything much about it, apart from the impressions you are giving one another on the seemingly like a relationship. And we have virtual friends. So if we have virtual friends, it is also true that we can have true friends. How about virtual leadership? How many times do leaders seemingly are telling us what they are going to do, and yet they are actually meaning another thing from what they are putting up as an impression? Camouflage, deception, is not a new thing. That's why in my introduction, I have said seemingly you are new, yet from time immemorial, you have always been. When we look at our lives generally, virtue has always existed. So the term virtue as we use it today may want to shake so many people's brains, may want to look like it is something that is spectacular. Yet in reality, we live with it every day of our going. We live virtual lives, many of us. We live virtual relationships, many of us. We do virtual things. How about sometimes even in our education systems? Can it also be true that we are having virtual education systems? Because they are teaching you something different, purportedly trying to take you to what would be like your success. And how many times does it end up looking like it has rendered you ineffective instead of igniting you to give you more momentum for better? We've got so many educated people who have ended up being cooked. They can't be any better than what they are by virtue of the fact all the time confessing, me, I am this, in quote, my profession. Me, I am this. And if ever you want to think of any other alternative to give to him, he will tell you clearly, me, I am this. Ask him if that is what God created, and he will not answer it. So if what you are is not what you have been created, aren't you being a virtual man, a virtual woman, which has been made by your education, other than from what God otherwise intended? So as we look at virtue, I want us to look at virtue from a deeper perspective. Look at what we are calling science development. Let us look at what we are calling modern trends and be able to dig deeper, be able to dig with some bit of understanding and see if what we are doing today is real or it has got a bearing to do with the old game, as I have called it, deception. Much as science may be having a lot of its good things, much as technology has got a lot of its good things, let us find out how good is good, just as I want us to find out how virtue is virtue. Because I don't want you to bias up things and think I am saying virtue is wrong. No, it has been like it is real. It has been made like it is true. And in its context, it has got some wonderful attributes. But if not properly managed, if not properly taken care of, it can become a danger to us. So in our introduction, I want you to notice very well, I'll be releasing up a 2-series release every time we go. I want us to look at it from the context I am doing now, but also look at another context where we'll be able to dig a little deeper with a little of a Christian attitude. Because amongst all the Christian books I have come across, I think the Bible explains virtue more clear than any other book in my understanding. So when we are looking at the virtue context in its old time bearing, I want us to look at the families to begin with. I'll just go giving examples on each to prove to you it is not a modern thing. Virtue is not for now. Virtue has always been. Virtue will continue to be. And secondly, I want you to bear in its meaning, that virtue always evolves. It keeps on changing its name. It keeps on changing its definition. Like now, we have engulfed in the scientific element, but virtue has always been. And when it was virtue at the beginning, it was not virtue on the computer. But today we have computer games, virtual friends. We've got computer meetings, virtual meetings. We've got virtual conferences. We've got so many, but all those things are not new. They have been, but they have only been in another definition, another language, another term. So virtue, I want you to be sure, virtue is not a today issue. Virtue is an old time thing. Though today, when we talk about it, it looks like an advancement in technology. It looks an advancement in science. It looks like a new development. And sometimes people are fearing it. Sometimes people are even looking at it as if it is something that is so spectacular. But if we look at it in the modern context, bearing in mind its origin, we should be able to face anything that comes around and be able to live with anything that comes by and to live successfully. So in our series, although I didn't give you my title, to me it is to say, born to succeed. You and me, we are born to succeed. Nothing should come our way to make us look as if what has come is going to destroy us. To look at what has come or what is as if it is a new thing. All these things have been there. But if man doesn't involve his understanding, if man doesn't open his mind afresh, you will be left disillusioned, You'll be left confused, you'll be left perplexed, and yet it is the same old thing. So I don't want us to look at things as if they are really a new thing. And the purpose of this series is to help you, my dear listener, to help you understand that what you are facing is not new. I want to help you understand that what you are facing is manageable. I want to help you understand that what you are facing is for you to go through successfully, victoriously, to make sure it will awaken you to go back to the true you. Because if virtue is there, like I have stated in the introduction, then the true exists. If sometimes you live a virtual life, I want to tell you, you can live a true life. If you have been doing virtual parenthood, I can tell you, you can do correct parenthood, true parenthood. If you have been living as a virtual husband, a virtual mother, a virtual father, a virtual wife, you can live as a true wife, you can live as a true husband, you can live as a true mother, a true father, and your children can enjoy the home where they're supposed to be living. Because many times we have caused our children to grow in virtual homes. We have left the love we would have given to our children, and the love is being given by virtual friends in the name of virtual computer games. And all the time the baby is just busy smiling and laughing and just moving fingers, and he looks like he's playing. But actually, what he is doing is just fantasizing in the world somewhere else, a world that has been created for him, and he lives in that world away from you. You won't be surprised if your kids become confused and chaotic. Don't be confused when your children become so disrespectful. The answer is simple. They live in a world away from the world where you are living. Virtual world is robbing so many things from us. Virtual world in its goodness is taking a lot of us away from our own people. I'll give an example. When we live in a virtual home sometimes, you come back home and you can't smile to your children, you can't smile to your spouse, but you can smile to your virtual friend on a Facebook, you can smile to your friend on a Twitter or a WhatsApp, you can smile and you're seated in your chair alone and busy laughing, even lifting up the legs. Where are you? Even when you're living in a house, you're living in a certain virtual world somewhere. So virtual world exists. Virtual world is not new. Virtual world in all its goodness, I am telling you, can be dangerous. Good as you are, virtual world, you are dangerous at the same time. And people need to wake up to understand you. People need to wake up to understand what is behind it, so that they are able to offer a reaction in order to walk through the virtual world successfully, so that they are able to go back to the true world where they're supposed to be living. And that is one of my causes today, as I am introducing this, because I want people to go back to the original world. Let's go back away from the virtual world. We will, of course, live with the science, but we can live with the science just on the sides. When you yourself are true. You can live with the science, with the technology, when you yourself are a true being. But if you are virtual and living in a virtual world, you are in trouble. If you are virtual and living in a virtual world, you are going to do a virtual home. You're going to live a virtual life with your friends. That's why these days I'm not surprised. People are not true friends. Why? We are virtual most of the times. So as we are dealing with virtue, I want you in my introduction to understand that virtue is not new. Virtue is not science, is not technological, it's not a modern term. It's just a scientific upgrade. It is always scientific all the time. Simple changes have always come in, and the technology has always turned to show the things as if it is new. So welcome technology, welcome science. We welcome you in all your fullness, but we will welcome you only if you don't change man and make man virtual.
Thanks for watching. Click on the link in the description below for the second part. If you find it helpful, please share, comment and subscribe.